Hey guys, welcome back. Welcome to the second episode of She's More. I am so excited. I know you are for sure. I'm just so glad that you guys are with us, tuning in and just being a part of this because things are about to explode. So if you haven't taken a look already, in our first episode, we were talking about the foundations of everything. And we kind of left off with a little teaser about what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah.
But guys, let's get ready for it. So I wanted to ask you, Britt, what does friendship mean to you?
Jeez. Wow. Thank you for loading. So honestly, the first time that I really had a friend, right? It wasn't quite what I thought it was. So before actually starting this whole podcast and meeting some people, I was actually in a season where the Lord was showing me to allow him to be my friend. And it was, I was hurting because my whole family had left and I felt super alone. I felt like, dang, who's my friend now? And you and I wasn't even really talking. Which is a whole nother. So I didn't have that friend. Yeah. And to sit here and tell you from before what I thought was a friend isn't quite so how God showed me what a friend is in him.
Yeah.
And when I think of friendship, right, I think of sacrifice and I think of unconditional love.
Yeah.
And loyalty, right? Like this, sure. I don't want to say like a sentence per se of, oh, a friendship should look like this and like this, right? But that ultimately I see that even John 15:13, God says, greater love has no one than to lay down one's life as for his friends, right? So sacrificing that. And for so long, I felt like I was the only one sacrificing for friends. Yeah, I was the only one doing that. And maybe I did put an expectation of what I thought people should be like, but just to think of what a friendship, what that means to me is someone who's, what was it? Proverbs 17:17 also says that a friend loves at all times and a brother is born of adversity, right? So just always being loyal and always helping in time of need. And I think of a friend to be that despite what you're going through, like putting that pride to the side, putting whatever it is that you're dealing with to the side and still being there. That's not to say ignore what you're going through. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is to understand that it's much bigger and it's all about sacrificing.
That's absolutely. I love the fact that you just said that because a lot of times we get so into ourselves that we forget that we need to put in that effort with your community, especially with female friends. So like I said, if you haven't watched the first episode, we were talking a little bit about our friendship. There was a point in time where we weren't friends, but I've been friends with her since high school, but then something kind of happened in the middle, and I kind of wanted you to talk a little more on that one because I know, especially since we're doing this podcast together, some people were probably wondering, okay, how did this happen? Like we just kind of like did this, but by the grace of God, here we are. Yeah. So go ahead.
Well, between you and I, there was a time that, first of all, we met in high school. Yeah. And we wasn't like close friends. We were just, we knew each other. And then funny enough, her mom was actually ended up becoming my nutritionist before she was a pastor.
That's a small world right there.
She's my spiritual mom at the same time, but she was my nutritionist first, right? So she was showing me how to eat right before I even ate right. And I was sitting here and I see Karina and I'm like, oh, I know that girl. She goes to my school. And we ended up like conversing little by little, but then I saw you in Harvest, right? Harvest Fields Community Church. And we started speaking little by little. And I would not think that you and I would become friends, like how we did. Yeah. And I remember starting college in a different college in Nyack. And when I started, the Lord was like, you guys are to be best friends. And I didn't understand it because I already had hurt from friendship. Right. But we became friends. And then there was a season where we're not on the same page at all, right? And there was a lot of things happening that ended up making it seem like you betrayed me, or making it, not even that making it, but it sometimes our perspective when we don't see it the way it needs to be seen, we both see from different things. we tend to put a name to an emotion that maybe isn't exactly that emotion.
Yeah.
And I was sitting here and I remember we were so close, together almost all the time at each other's houses. And then boom.
All of a sudden it was,
there was
nothing,
no more.
No texting, not even hi, not even
And it didn't
bye.
quite exactly happen like that. There was just, I know, which you'll speak on the relationship and all these different things, where it's so important that when God says iron sharpens iron, right, that sometimes when you see a friend not in the place that you know them to be, the woman of God that I know that you are, right? I am not a PK. She's a PK.
For sure.
So both of our seasons in life, I was in a place where I was like, okay, I'm tired of playing hokey pokey with the Lord, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I just want to go dive in.
Versus me, who's been
doing it for so
years
long.
in this. Yeah.
That she was just, there'll be times, and again, this isn't to bring shame or anything, but this was to show that she was just like, well, I don't always want to talk about God. I want to do this. And I'm like, but I don't want to do that no more. Like, I've been doing that, right? So 2 different seasons. And it wasn't to sit there and be like, oh, I'm holier than thou. We were just on 2 different seasons. And then we tried it again. And then you got into a relationship. And then that's where things were just really, really hard.
Really upside down. It kind of flipped with that relationship. And even though it's not in the exact topic, but this is kind of how we had our little fallout because of the toxic relationship that I was in. And it was hard. It was hard when, you wanted support from a friend, but then it didn't seem like it was being reciprocated, or it didn't seem that it was being given. And in the moment, I couldn't see, and a lot of us probably have a lot of female friends that be like, that man is no good. I was one of those friends that were like, oh, what are you talking about? What you talking about with this? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'ma still do this anyway. And to be honest, even as a friend that was in a predicament where I was like you, I had to let them be. And I've always felt like, wow, like, okay, in the moment I didn't realize it, but my friend was trying to protect me from things that I couldn't see in the moment that was happening. And I praise God. I thank God for that, because not a lot of people have that. Not a lot of people have friends who look out for their best interests. Not a lot of friends know how to handle accountability. Not a lot of friends know how to correct in love. Not a lot of people know how to do these things. And because too many people are clapping you on the highway, respectfully, on the highway to hell. So it's just like, I'm grateful for those kind of friends who can put you in check. And I think you are one of those people that I can definitely say you have literally put me in check, even when times I did not want you to. Because listen, ladies, you're gonna get tight, that's all right, go to your corner, but we're gonna put you in check.
No.
But that's just it really touches me, because I know that a lot of that happened because of this. Also because when she said, once again, we were in different seasons. As she said, I am a pastor kid. And growing up in that, always doing Bible studies, always reading my word, always praying, having family meetings, going to church. I literally lived in church.
And visited home.
Like, bro, I used to come to church with, no, because I used to come in with sweatpants. Like, I lived in church. Like, that was my go-to place every time. From my teenager years, from younger up until now, church is literally where you'll catch me at. So eventually I felt like I was just tired. Like, I felt like it was just
an ongoing cycle.
Ongoing thing, the similar thing again and again and again. And I wanted to break free from it, but here I am, still here.
It's funny how some of us think breaking free means going into the place that is actually going to keep you in bondage.
Yeah.
Right? Because you were saying how you've been doing this for so long, and then what ends up happening, you get into a relationship and you think they're to be everything they say it to be. That's why the Lord said, test the spirits. Okay? Test the spirits. But it's important also to have those friendships, because what you can't see, another person can see, right? And it's not to sit here and bring shame to him, because maybe he'll watch this, right? We love him, but it's just a matter of how the devil been trying to break up relationships from the jump.
Yeah.
And we see that, and we're able to discern. We're able to discern and see now more than ever, like, when division is trying to creep in.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
And I'm grateful for everything that God has allowed me to do, because it was hard. And we're going to speak on that too. Like, it was hard not being your friend. To literally be in a season where then we're doing almost everything together, doing our nails, our feet, talking about the Lord, all this stuff. And then I see my friend hurting. And there's moments where, you know, you're crying, you're talking to me, and I'm like, Father, you're going to have to speak for me, because it's going to be flesh, right? Like, let's be real. But to now be able to do something like this with you, right? How I want you to also speak on, how did that make you feel, even coming back to being friends again? Sheesh. Right? Like, so when we weren't friends, how did that make you feel? What was the process of that, but then also coming back?
The process of that for me, it took a while to forgive, but I'm
Forgive
also kind of, first of all, forgiving myself.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of things on my own end. I was just like, sheesh. What was I thinking? But I also had to take time to forgive and let go of things that you may not have known that you did. And sometimes even in friendships, there's times where people do things and they have no idea what they did, like, at all. And it just kind of leaves the space for, or makes room for more division to come in, because there's a miscommunication. And as coming into the friendship, I think I was able to do it like this because that's who I am. Naturally, I am a natural forgiver. I mean, it may not always look like it, but I am a quick forgiver when it comes to friends, especially when I know it's a sisterhood, especially when I know a friend has been solid before. Like, it wasn't like, oh, that there was anything toxic. It was just that people had two different, we were in two different spaces, right? And even coming up with this podcast as we were in my room, and I'm going to talk about it. I was praying in my room. I was on the bed and I was just praying and getting into my word. And this is where we were trying to formulate ideas for the podcast. And all of a sudden I feel a fire in my heart. I was just like, bro, I can't. I was trying so hard to ignore it, but I couldn't. I had to give in. And I was just like, nah, we got to talk about this, because we never really had talked about it until we confronted it, and we chose to confront it. I was just sitting back and I was like, nah, God, we really do got to talk about it. So that's when we started talking about it, and a lot of healing took place because we were able to confront certain things. I think even with friendships in general, we have to be willing to confront certain things that we're not able to, because it feels scary. It feels scary to, okay, I don't like, okay, what am I going to do here? Like, what happens? What if they don't want to hear it? What if they take it the wrong way? What if they get angrier than what I intended? But at the end of the day, it's all about that reconciliation, because God wants to build his kingdom. God wants to build heavenly friendships. God wants to build all these things, because the enemy ain't like it. He never wanted this. Had I still had pride, we would not be here at all. And it's a level of dropping pride, and I had to really fast and pray about that.
It's funny, right? Because like I said, we've been friends since high school. So I've, even a little while ago, I was telling you, like, yo, I'm so proud of you. And I'm not sitting here saying I'm perfect, because I'm not. I've definitely had pride. I definitely have attitude problems at times, right? But but to be the one, right, where I always felt like, because for me, I'm gonna speak on me, being that friend, to always be the one to communicate, to be the bigger person all the time, I'm gonna be honest, gets annoying and it gets tiring. And I have to constantly remind myself that, first of all, you're getting tired and getting annoyed because you're moving by your flesh. You're not letting God do it, right? And yes, there's times that we have to do it, but when I was finally able to speak to you again, it was different, because I seen that God was already softening your heart, right? And you can't talk to someone who has a hardened heart.
Wall. Yeah, nah,
it's not gonna go through. You can't feed a mouth that's closed. It's not gonna work. And I was sitting here, and when I was able to be friends with you again, that was hard. That was really hard, which was literally like a week even before still doing this podcast, where I'm like, I've had friends around that they was like, are you and Karina good? All this stuff. And I'm like, yeah. Inside, I feel like the Lord was on the side like, no, you're not. Stop it. You're not. Give it to me, right? And I would give him only a little bit. I wouldn't give it to him fully. But now to be able to say that all friendships, the way that God will restore the friendships is, first of all, you have to let him. You have to literally be intentional with that.
Oh my gosh.
You have to be intentional, because if you're not intentional with it, if you're not intentional with the healing process, the talking about the uncomfortable, oh, well, you said this and I didn't feel comfortable with this, right? Like you said, sometimes people can take that in a different way. And especially because I feel like there was a time that we wasn't speaking. So it's like, dang, how is she going to take this? I don't know how she's moving now, or this and all these things. And the devil will make you feel how, whatever you allow him, bringing up the past, bringing up things that you've gone through, right? And shout out to Jennifer, because there was the other day I was speaking with her and she was even talking about, you can't let your past friendships and all these things stop you from new friendships. And I knew that, but it hit me even harder because I'm in this thing now, and I'm just like, okay. And it's a constant thing. But letting God be intentional, and also you being intentional.
Yo, yeah, because it's not just all God. As I said, like I said, you gotta take a look at the previous videos. But as I said in one of the previous videos, you have to really put in that work, because it's not always going to be God. When it comes to developing friendships, yeah, you can fast and pray and worship all day long, but if you ain't got no effort or love in your heart, it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that, because a lot of us carry religious spirits that we think, oh, God is going to just do it. No, we're not puppets. No. We're not his puppets. We are his vessels, and he gives us free will. So, developing that friendship, it takes a lot of effort, and sometimes it's painful.
It hurt. First of all, it hurt. Let me just say this. When we were, I'm going to be really honest, the day that we was in church, which was every Sunday, but there was I think it was like 2 weeks ago, the Lord was just breaking me in the front, and the way that you held me, I felt such a peace.
Jesus.
Right? Because it was no longer of looking at you for what you did to me, right? Because we want to be technical. God don't do that to us. He don't look at what we've done, right? That there is no, we're covered. And I had to sit here and constantly remind myself, well, if I want to move forward and begin this friendship slate, right? Like a clean slate. I can't look at what she did or what she didn't do, because that was a big problem too. Putting an expectation. You can't expect a cat to bark, because the cat, that's not the cat's nature. And there's certain things that we cannot expect from people to be and do, because, well, I would have did that. Oh, well, that's me, right? And even if I know Karina to be so in certain things that I know you to be, you just weren't there.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Extending that grace, but it hurt. It still hurt. Like, and I think that it's okay to say it hurt. Like, God, this is painful. I don't want to do this.
Transparency. I feel like sometimes we put up such a facade, especially with friendships, that we feel like we gotta hide the fact that, well, we didn't like something that they did, or we're just straight up offended by something that they did. Yeah. And we don't gotta be that way. Yeah. Especially if we feel upset at God, we don't gotta lie to God. He already knows, bro. He already sees the fact that you're upset, and he knows it.
Do you think that a person, if they're struggling with friendships with one another, that they're struggling with a friendship with God?
Probably, absolutely.
Okay,
because I feel like how you have a relationship with God is just simply your relationships. Like physical relationships is just a reflection of how close you are with God. And I only say this because when I was insecure about myself, or I didn't love myself, it's because I didn't find my identity in who God was. And then I would project these insecurities on people that I had nothing to do with them. It had nothing to do with my ex. It had nothing to do with my previous friends. It had nothing to do with them. It had to do with whatever turmoil I was dealing with on the inside that I was not trying to deal with. Take it up with God. I always be like, yo, that's none of my business, because you got to take it up with Jesus. And that's how I had to look at myself in the mirror and be like, yo, it ain't their business. Nah. Great, you got community, but you need to take this up with the one who can make you whole again. And it ain't with these people. And as much as, they may want to take some of the pain away, it's not them who's going to do it for you. It's going to be the one who made you. I love Jeremiah so much because he talks about the potter. And even when you're broken, you can come to the potter. And I feel like a lot of stuff, especially in friendships, have, you break. But then you come back to the one who made you, because the foundation isn't your friendships. The foundation isn't, your relationships with anybody. It's God. It's his word that keeps you stable. So I feel like, yeah, it is a prime reflection of the type of relationship you have with Christ.
So do you think if people don't have a relationship with God and seeing him as a friend, that they would fail at relationships all the time, or most times?
I feel like it's a work in progress. I think even with a relationship with Christ, it is a work in progress. It is a complete work, because there's days where I don't want to pray. I don't want to read my word. I'm too tired. I'm gonna be transparent. I've been really tired, exhausted, that I caught myself and I'm like, bro, what happened to my relationship with Christ? Like, it's not that God's far from me, it's I'm far from God, because I chose to be that way, because I allowed my tiredness to interfere with my relationship. And like I said, it is a work in progress, because it's not a one-day thing and then all of a sudden you got it all together. That's not the case. And I think a lot of people have that expectation that even with the relationships in real life and their relationship with God is going to take 3 seconds and boom. No, that's not how it goes. It's, again, the intentionality. You have to put the work in for those things to be developed. And it's very important that you do. Can't do anything without it, to be honest.
Yeah. And I think back, right, when the Lord was really dealing with me with friendships the other day, he took me to the very root of the friendship.
Sheesh.
Right? That, like, I'm talking about the root of where this girl was living below me and I was living in Throgs Neck and on Logan. And I thought she was my friend, right? How we put, again, that not even an expectation. I think we just hear friendship and we think everybody's a friend. It's so important that you put the categories of people in where they need to go.
Has us tricked up with friendships.
Yeah.
We think that they don't go through issues at all.
Yeah. And a lot of the times we just bring all that pain into the next friendships, the next person.
Yeah.
But letting God be the one to restore it, not necessarily you, because that's a big burnout too, and that's where we could feel like, dang, I need to do this, I got to do this myself, or I got to be the fixer, which, right?
Yeah.
That's someone like me where I feel like I always got to fix things, or I got to communicate, I got to do this, I got to do that, when there's a time for things. I firmly believe that, like Ecclesiastes says, right, there's a time for everything.
Yeah.
But letting God restore and be the one to be that person,
and having hope too that he can restore. Because a lot of people lose hope with that restoration. Like, at some point we never thought we would ever be friends again, to be honest.
I didn't think that, and
here we are, because God is just not a God you can put in a box. It's just as simple as that. You can't place him in just this. No, he is so grand, and he could do whatever he wants to do at whatever grand scale that he wants to, because if he wants to, he'll show up, and when he shows up, he's flashy. He's flashy with it, and that's the God I serve, and I'm praise be to Jesus.
But this is, I think friendships is a lot more deeper than what this only thing that we're talking about. This goes into many, many, many different directions, and we'll slowly get into that more and more. But for right now, like, I want to publicly say that even a little while ago I was saying, like, Karina's the little sister that I always wanted, and I didn't realize that I didn't realize that until recently a friend had asked me that rather. And I'm grateful for the restoration and the healing that God has done with us,
the journey,
because this is really to show and to really show every woman who's dealing with hurt from old friends, one, to not let it stop you from getting new friends, but also having that hope that whatever friend that you did have, you don't know how God is about to use that person,
and turn it all around.
do not immediately close the door. And let me tell you, even if you try to, there's people around you that's going to be like, yo, I think the Lord is trying to do something with y'all, right? Because we have people alongside with us who have been telling us that. So let God restore it, because there's something much bigger. There's a bigger ministry, like She's More. So I'm grateful.
Yep. All right, guys. So I just wanted to say, like, listen, keep tuning in, because more is about to come. This is only part 1. Might I just add, this is only part 1. So keep an eye out for the next episode, and please like, comment, subscribe, share with all your friends, repost it, tell everybody about it. The link is in our bios. If you don't have us already, add us at the Val Podcast. The link is, like I said, in the bio. So have a great day, guys, and we can't wait to see you again. Bye, guys.
Thank you for watching another video. Make sure you go down there and you subscribe. Hit that bell. Tell your friends. Tell your family. Tell everybody that we're doing this. If you don't, I'll report your Instagram page. Follow.